Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the Present Poetry Podcast. I'm your host, Erin Crittenden, and today we have the honor and the pleasure of interviewing multi-award winning poet Julie Flanders.
Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, it's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well. Thank you so much for agreeing to the interview.
Oh, yeah, and I hope it worked out timing-wise. I messed up so many things on my calendar last week. I was like, "Is this the eclipse? What happened to
I
me?"
understand.
But yeah, no, I'm really happy to be with you. And I took a look at some of the things you're doing. It's pretty wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing my best, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you know, it's a journey.
Oh, every day. I try to get up and say, I'm going to do something to either put beauty or laughter or something good in the world because I look at the news. I can't believe how awful
Mhm.
it really, really is.
Again, for the audience, this is Julie Flanders with us today. And according to the small bio that I was given, says with deceptively simple words, Julie Flanders guides readers through the mysteries of the familiar to a deeper understanding of life and love, death and loss, miracles of perception, and the magic of the ordinary. Deeply satisfying, her poems are easily entered for a first read and richly reward repetition. Julie is an Amazon bestseller in poetry for each of her two collections, Joyride and Shadow Breathing, both of which I will link in the show notes for this episode. Following upon the success of the animated short of her poem Doubts, an official selection at nearly 30 film festivals, The Big Sadness, an experimental short written and narrated by Julie and directed by Samuel Flanders, surged to over 250,000 YouTube views in its first month. For the last 10 years, Julie has posted a new original poem on social media every day in April during National Poetry Month. She is also the originator of the hashtag Haiku Tuesday, creating and encouraging posts of haikus every Tuesday, year-round, contributing to an archive of hundreds of poems and haikus online ever since. Julie is also a sought-after creative consultant with expertise in leadership, trance states, and neurolinguistics. Her clients include world changers from the field of culture, technology, thought, authorship, and the arts. So Julie, again, it is wonderful to have you here, and that's quite an impressive list of achievements.
Thank you.
Do you want to kind of get into how that all came about? Like, what was your starting inspiration?
Well, I think that even as a child, I poetry for me was primary, words were primary, and that was always the instrument I most preferred, even though I studied music. And um, I guess I have been fortunate to have insomnia because I'm a real fire watcher and night person, and as a result, I never slept very much, and
Mhm.
instead I would read or I would write or I would be up. And I think I got a lot of things written early in my life and made the habit of writing consistently. And then I've always had a real renaissance of interests, and I've always loved uh, helping other people. And so my career has divided between the healing arts, the helping arts, and the expressive arts. And now I really feel those things come together because people so need self-expression, and they
Mhm.
need to participate, and they need to be able to be, you know, art can exist at a very high level of standards and expression and still include people. And I'm very committed to that. I'm very committed to those who are really strong among us, including in holding those who may be finding their voice or just occasionally able to express. And I love that. So I guess I've been fortunate to enjoy creating myself and inviting other people to the occasion of their own creativity. And I've been able to do that in a lot of different ways and with tremendous, wonderful miracles of outcomes. So it's
I
been
love
very
that. I
gratifying.
love that. There's a great feeling in inspiring other people to find their creativity as well as finding your own.
Yeah, and I've been amazed this last year. I've been meeting a lot of younger people in the choir and choral world where I have had a number of pieces done. And I have met a couple of people who draw anywhere from like 10 to 300, 400 people into a room and get them singing together and moving together and drawing in crayons together. And, they're creating these experiences that everyone needs of being together and gathering and having joy and letting some of their feelings out and not just everything being about, how much it costs to go to the grocery store these days.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah, exactly. But I would say that my creativity changed a lot when I became a mother because I had zero time ever. So there was earning money, which most artists have to do a way different than their self-expression,
Hmm.
and raising my son and trying to find 15 minutes somewhere in the day where I could do something that felt like me belonging to myself. And that is when I developed the habit of writing a poem every day. Uh, no matter how little time I had, I would just take two random words and whatever I wrote, that was it. No rewrites, nothing. And that sort of gave the spark to the 30 days of poetry that I do every year, of just
Hmm.
letting something pour forth and letting that be it. And obviously I'm a songwriter, and that for me is very detail oriented, and I rewrite a lot. But in poetry, I just don't. I try to take what comes and shape
Hmm.
it. Maybe that'll change now. Maybe I'll get more pickety. I don't know, but generally, I find that just following and riding the wave of an impulse and being unashamed to let it exist is an invitation to other people to do the same, to let something flow through them and exist, and to just offer it and then move on to the next thing. So, but I really think that being a mother helped me that way. Although while my son was young, I didn't feel it that way. I felt like I was suffocating with responsibility and overwhelm and doing everything wrong and whatever. And, now I really tell younger women who are raising their children, you're doing everything right. If it feels terrible, you're probably doing it right.
Yeah.
It, it, it doesn't feel good, but it is good, and I think that has been a big influence in my work, is being a mother. And I feel that women have a greater demand on their creative self in parenting typically, culturally, historically. Most of the time, our creative juice gets directed into parenting. So, um, or caretaking, there's
Hmm.
a real draw upon our reservoir. And that's the same for me, at least, the same reservoir from which the creative well springs. So,
Yeah. And I completely agree. Kids are a lot of responsibility.
mhm.
And I also have a daughter, and
Mm,
for that reason, I also do my best work at night when she's asleep and I don't have to worry about her.
yes,
So
yeah,
I understand,
exactly
but
right.
still having that wellspring,
Mhm.
I can definitely relate to that about just finding something and not worrying about editing it as you go.
Yeah.
'Cause that's one of the things I struggle with is the letting it be.
Letting it be, and that's what being a mother gave me. I just decided that, and it's
Hmm.
really helped a lot of other people I know, because the unconscious mind will do more finishing than you think, and sometimes rewriting makes things too precious and not free enough, not full enough.
Hmm.
And I don't think everything we do has to be perfect. If you read 100 poems, one's gonna probably be amazing, and the others are gonna vary. And I try to show ranges of my work. I don't only show the best of things I do, I just show representative things that I do. I think that's a really nice, it lets all those people that are standing on the sidelines like going, wow, I could do it better. And
Hmm.
I'm like, yes, you probably can. So do come and join the party. It's okay.
Exactly. It's not a competition, and that's what
Yeah.
I like to impart is like poetry is very much a free for all kind of form.
Oh, it is. It is. And a couple of every year I try to when we give the awards for the poetry contest, my creative partner Marina Belika, with whom I do a lot of events, and October Project, my music project, um, she'll always try to get me to do a poem live on the spot. People give me words and I make the poem, and it's really hairy, but it's amazing how that practice of poetry is also very freeing, because it's you have to let go.
Hmm.
You can't do it if you're holding on too tight. And I really love that freestyling became such an important, in slams, and living, breathing poetry is also very exciting. Different than poetry on the page, but also very exciting.
Yeah, there is definitely a like spoken word poetry has a different feel than written poetry, I believe.
Yeah.
But they're both so inspirational.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, on that note, do you have any poems to share with us this evening?
Yeah, I went a little crazy because I was like, "Oh no, I don't know. I can never pick a poem." But I do have a new book coming. Hopefully this month it'll get
Okay,
finished and uploaded into all the platforms. But the name of the book is going to be Watermark, I
watermark.
believe. And I have a whole bunch of poems that are called Watermark, and I couldn't find them because my folders are so messy. But I found one of the Watermark poems, so I thought I would read that one first because
Absolutely.
it hasn't been anywhere yet. Okay, so and I'm still not sure if the title's going to be Watermark or Watermarked. Anyway, I can see where the water rose and left a mark. I can see where the past cast its spell as the future turned dark and left a sigh in the paper. We change our shape, closing the escape route. We pretend we are trees with heads of sunshine in a bright breeze of flowering stars, imaginary lovers playing guitars, swaying in each other's arms. The water is still rising. We can hear the sound. Someone out there may fall and drown in the music of the rain. We are beyond knowing. We are beyond pain. We are slowly forgetting. But the water leaves a stain. There are so many feelings I can't contain, a puzzle of feelings so mysterious, like a cone. In invisible ink, I wrote a poem about you, about us, about love, about home. So that one is that. And
That
then I
was
had another
absolutely
poem.
beautiful.
Thank you. I had a really contrasting poem, and I was like, I'm a little scared to read this one, but I thought that might be a good thing. It's a mean poem, which I'd not usually, but two people were pretty awful in the life of someone I care about. So I decided no one would ever know who I was writing about,
Hmm.
but I could write about these mean, stunted people and enjoy myself and give this as a gift to the person they were mean to. So if you wouldn't mind that one, I thought I could read it. It's a little impolite, but I think it's worthy of public
Absolutely, go for it.
appreciation. Okay, so this one is called Bitter Fruit.
Bitter fruit.
Bitter as an old lady in a vinegar bath, you are a magnet for complaint. You are vivid with criticism. You love the sting and taint of mean words. You spit pith and dribble faint praise, screech at the singing birds and caw, caw the innocent, playful squirrels. You chew up the grass with high heels and feed the social swine your poisoned pearls. You are fierce with anyone who feels good or ignores your airs. When others are in pain, your lip curls tight and you delight in unhappy affairs. Greedy as an obesity in a chocolate shop, you are starving for attention. You are lousy with witticisms and you spin the best intentions into awful doubt. You kill faith and you lick the joy right out. And you too, frustrated non-entity, stunted, shrunken old man, tongue-darting nonsense, sand-tonguing snake lips, fungus toes, scratching sock holes secrets, rubbing nubs into toilet bowls, thunderous self-applause with troll paws. You think the sun rises, roars, and sinks into you. The whole world stinks due to you excreting magical spells with your swill spills and you coat the rim with the thrills you must wipe away, so no one sees your pleasure spray, your unripe seed bleeding out a geriatric trickle. From your brief, half-limp, still eager wickle spout, you are a mold-ridden, never-eaten pickle. Lonely, angry, brittle old man, making enemies of all, yet always giving yourself a hand. And that is my meanest poem.
I am so glad I'm not on the receiving end of that. That was
They'll never
gorgeous.
know. They'll never
They'll
know.
never know, but that was absolutely a revenge poem if I've ever
It
heard
was a
one.
goodie, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, and it's very cathartic to get all of that negativity out onto the page.
Isn't it though? I mean, so much better to just let words do it and then be done and not have to
Mhm.
walk around angry or mean. Just, you know,
Yeah.
we all hold those feelings in our heart, and sometimes that just needs to come out without hurting anybody. And I think that's another purpose of poetry and art, is turning something that could be negative in life into something that's a piece of art,
Mhm.
rather than a dart or, a punch in the face.
And then, like you said, we all have those feelings inside of us. So somebody will read that and think that's perfect for the situation I'm going through as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
it's
they'll
very
they'll
relatable
recognize.
across the board.
Yeah, they'll see like, "Oh, I know who she's talking
Yep.
about." It'll be someone from their life.
Like I know exactly what this person is.
Yes, we've all met them.
Yeah.
Sometimes at church.
Oh yeah. So
So,
that's that one might be my favorite though, just the way you really just get into them. And the old lady in the vinegar bath is such a great visual.
yes. Yeah, so anyway, but, yeah, so I feel like poetry has a lot of purposes. It's a wonderful way for words to release feeling, and I've written a lot of grief poems, and some of those have gone, it's like I was shocked when the big sadness had such an impact so quickly. So many people responded to that. And I think it's because, especially during and post COVID, the whole world was grieving itself,
Oh yeah.
and we've all gone through so much. So just, whether it was someone you knew that you lost, or you never saw someone for 3 years, or, you just, so much happened in that time. And I was,
Mhm.
I was pretty amazed at how people responded to a poem I thought was so personal about just, walking around trying to make the best of things, but feeling as if, on the inside, there's just this hum of sadness accompanying ordinary things.
Mhm. And there was that was definitely a time. Like we were
Yeah.
all going through it. And I know I personally wrote a lot myself during that time, just like you said, to kind of grieve in my own way and get the feelings out on paper where they could be free.
Yeah, right. Because if you carry it around inside your body, that does nobody any good,
Right.
And I think poetry is a way for us to hold hands with other people that we never even meet.
Hmm.
Sometimes I read poems and I cannot believe that the person that wrote the poem wrote it 500 years ago, that I'm like feeling like, oh, I can feel you across all this time. I can feel your heart.
And I love those little snippets into our history. It's like these
Right.
people were dealing with the exact same things we are.
Isn't it crazy? I mean, sometimes I read a Rumi poem and I'm like, that was a while ago. That was a while back in a totally different culture. And it's
It's
like,
still relatable. Yeah.
yeah, it's unbelievable. Or even Shakespeare, sometimes I can't understand how so much got written into being through a poet so great and so funny and so
Yeah,
magnificent in his storytelling, but just the
he paved the
words he
way for a
invented.
lot
Hmm.
of artistic expression.
Hmm. Yeah.
He really did.
Which makes us lucky that I mean, to be a native English speaker gives us access to such a great poet.
Hmm. It does. And there are quite a few. Even during my research for this podcast, I always like to dive into the unknowns. And there are
Mm,
so many that I've never heard of before in my life, but their poetry is so powerful.
yeah, it's
And
really something. I mean, we even with our poetry contest, which I hope some of your listeners will will participate in. We've discovered people from all over the world. The hardest thing is just choosing
Mm-hmm.
choosing the poems. I mean, so many of them are fantastic and worthy. I had to discount myself as a judge because I can't make
Can't
the
choose.
choice. We had to get people that could do that, and they pick, and then we just celebrate. And I thought like that was a better role for me, is to celebrate the people who
Mm-hmm.
have participated and the ones that, have a poem that emerges through all those judges looking at it and saying, yeah, this is really good.
All right. Will you tell us a little bit more about the contest?
Yeah, I think we're in our sixth year this year,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
free, and we we put it on all the social media channels so that people can come across it, and we put it on our website, and people just go there and they can submit up to 3 poems. And then we have 5 judges who go through the poems in different waves and then bring it down to some final poems that we then put out. We make people very aware of them. We host a Zoom because sometimes the people are from far away.
Okay.
I think we've had a young girl from India won our
Oh,
youth poem. And so we try to give a bunch of awards. We try to bring awareness to people. Um, we don't we up till now we've never charged any sort of entry fee or anything, and it is a lot of work. There are hundreds of poems that come, if not 1,000, maybe even 1,000 last year, that
oh, man.
getting up there. um and then we celebrate the poets, and then some of the poets have stayed with us as judges in future years. And a couple of people have stayed with us the entire time and created some continuity in that. And some of the poets have gone on to win some pretty serious awards afterward. And so we think we've done a lot to bring awareness to them and to let their work see light and be heard. And they each read their poem. It's really nice.
That sounds really
Um,
nice.
yeah, I'm trying to think of other ways that we can maybe, we're putting together, we've been producing and putting work in the world for other artists as much as possible over the last several years as the energy would permit. We did 2 virtual choirs that became award winning.
Oh,
We've been doing the poetry contest. We have some other projects around musical rounds that we're putting into the world. But I thought it would be really nice to start to put together a collection of winning poems so more people can be featured, and we could put the books out and have a collection so people could really, at the end of the poetry contest, we could have a gathering of the best poems for people to enjoy and appreciate, and
okay. So
we
like
could
an
get a
anthology
competition.
of all the winners.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
maybe expand the number of winners there can be, because in a Zoom where someone's reading it, you have to have fewer. You can't have everybody, but I think in a
right.
book we could feature more poets and more poems, because sometimes it's really painful to say, oh, this is the poem that will be heard, and this poem, which is so good, also we don't have room for it, so that would
Yeah, I
help.
can imagine it's quite a challenge.
It is, but it's a beautiful challenge, and they at least are getting read and felt and seen by people who really care and who really have the heart and the eyes for poetry. So that's a good thing.
So it's a good jumping off point.
Yeah, and it's created some nice relationships, and if I had all the time in the world, I would probably do even more of it. But as you said, every day you wake up and you try to do what you can.
Hmm. When is the deadline for the contest?
It goes all the way through the month, and then usually we have like a little extension because people don't quite get their poems in, and then probably toward the end of May is when we'll have gotten and gathered and really look through everything, and then we'll have some sort of a celebration event.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
it's at
the October
October.
Projects Poetry Contest.
Yeah, it's octoberprojectmusic.com.
October
And
Project
if you go to our homepage there, then you can click right into the poetry contest, and it's very easy to submit.
Okay, excellent. I will definitely link that into the description as well. That way other people can find it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, I have no other questions. Do you have anything that you would like to end us with?
Well, just that, you know, I find poems for me start as a feeling in my body and my heart. And I just hope other people, when they feel that creative urge, that they listen to themselves, that they listen and give expression, get a journal, write your thoughts, your feelings, your dreams, and really connect with yourself. It's a wonderful way to align with your inner guidance and what's right for you, and to find your truest path and best expression. There's no such thing as a wasted poem. Just the process
Mhm.
of writing it is important.
I love that. Thank you so much, Miss Julie, for being on the podcast again and for agreeing to do this interview. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Present Poetry Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, feel free to like us, leave a review, or share us on social media. If you are a poet or you know someone who is, we would love to hear from you. You can reach out to us or submit your work through our website, which is www.present-poetry.com. Again, that is www.present-poetry.com. We can't wait to hear from you.